There's a lot of times I get confused. Things puzzle me. It makes me ask questions. Maybe that's why I like philosophy. That's the idea of teaches you how to helps you to ask questions, you know. That's probably some of the issues with the world. A lot of times we're asking the wrong questions. No wonder we get the wrong answers. If we ask the right questions, we get right answers. You know, so it's learning to ask good questions. And so I encounter things that puzzles me. One of the things that puzzles me is this trend amongst the Christian world, Catholic world, about this desire to just kind of be liked by society, to be accepted by society, to be popular. It makes no sense to me. Especially when you hear things like this from Jesus. Right? He's not calling us to make the gospel popular. He's asking us to be faithful to it, to be honest, to share it truthfully. And this is what may happen. They will seize you and persecute you. They will hand you over to the synagogues and to prisons. They will have you led before kings and governors because of my name. Don't be surprised when that happens. But because of this, you have an opportunity to give testimony. It will lead to your giving testimony. It will put you in a place to share the gospel before the kings and the rulers. But don't prepare too heavily. Trust me to give you what you need in that moment. I remember one of the most, I love this particular moment, and just like, this is why it's like, this you know, when you talk about someone larger than life, I just remember the good little Saint Mother Teresa, Mother Teresa, you know, all of, I don't know, what, 4'9"? Yeah, tiny little thing. This is a woman who, everything that she is known for, she began. She was older than I am when she began it. She started in her mid to late 40s, the mission in Calcutta. You know, so to me, she's a great example of, like, you know, don't be afraid if you get to a point in life. Don't be afraid to have the courage to follow the Lord for a little mid-shift. Could be a heck of a ride. It was for her. But this is a woman who, meek in all the right ways, she stayed even. Even. Never let her emotions get the better of her. She was the same always. You know, she's the kind of person, she had the courage, like, she would go up to this is how she trusted, you know, because she lived hand to mouth, right? She trusted the Lord would take care of her needs. She lived on the same level of the people that she cared for. She trusted to the point that, she had an engagement. You know, she had to go to D.C. She needed an airplane ticket. She'd walk up to the airline counter. Hey, can you help me? She just trusted she would ever get a plane ticket. Something would work out. Not all of us can live that way, I know, but but it's a remarkable way. And to the point, I remember as a young man, that's the beauty of television. One of the beautiful things of television, it can peer you to something as it's happening. And I just remember one time in the mid-90s, it was one of the national prayer breakfasts. And there's who do they have invited to speak? But yes, the good Mother Teresa, sitting next to the sitting president. Does she use this opportunity to seek to ingratiate herself to the American public? To seek to make herself popular? Or to use an opportunity to say truthful things in her very meek and gentle way. And she did. It's funny to see that some people next to her squirming because they did not agree with her policy changes. Well, not necessarily her moral stance that would affect some policy changes. But that's the thing in the world, and we sit in this unique spot where the moral teachings of the church push against both sides of political aisle. And we should stop trying to make things popular, but simply to say things truthfully, one person at a time. And it may ruffle feathers. I mean, just look at the image that we have in the first reading. Daniel, this is an amazing scene. I remember reading this for the first time when I was reading this, introducing the scripture in this comic book version of it. And there's this beautiful, the way that it presented it was very well done. And what, there he is. He's invited to come in to share this, he might have some special insight. Whether the Balthazar thinks he's got some magic insight into God's mind. Okay, what's this writing on the wall? He's done this before. Well, maybe we can get him to do it again, like he can come on command. And so he's brought into this arena of movers and shakers, the king himself. And he sees the writing on the wall. Can he read the writing on the wall? I think this is where that phrase comes from. I'm reading the writing. Can you read the writing on the wall? Sometimes it's just pointing out the obvious. Right? See, he could have easily, no one else knew what it said. He could have easily said something to flatter the king, to make himself like, oh, I can say what I can make something up. Or he could simply read the writing on the wall and share it. So what does he do? He tells things plainly. You knew who God was, and you still chose to ignore him. You worshiped created things instead of the Creator. And now your kingdom is found wanting. Something that may not have the king have wanted to hear. It's one of the things about, one of the aspects of our baptism that we sometimes ignore is the prophet. In our baptism, we're baptized into Christ's trifold ministry of priest, prophet, and king. To be a king is to speak with authority, and we have authority that Christ has given us, and in all of our states of life, we do have positions of authority, people who look to us, and we want to speak with Christ's authority. To live the priest is to pray for others, is to be diligent in our prayer life. Now, to be a prophet is not meaning like we're divining the future. At the very least, it's simply, can I read the writing on the wall? Can I see the obvious happening? Can I point out that the emperor has no clothes and have the courage to tell everybody that? Can I see how, can I see how things can shape out, anticipate the future? And be a word of warning. I remember when a friend of mine, came up to me one day and she's like, I'm thinking about moving in with my boyfriend. I'm like, are you looking, why are you sitting here? Are you looking for me for approval? You know me, know what I'm going to say. I don't think this is a good idea. Right? You wait for commitment on his part. Wait for, I tell her, I still love you. You're not going to lose me as a friend. But I'm going to be honest with you. Because I say that if you do this if you're moving this route, it may not be a healthy or good thing. And eventually, now, there are things like we look in our world today, when we look at how, we live in a culture of death, these are where people don't want to have, are not desiring to have children anymore. Well, if we had more people with the courage to speak openly and plainly, right? Here are some consequences of X, Y, and Z. The consequences of a proliferation of abortion. We're living in it. And now moving forward, how are we willing to speak to our current culture, to speak honestly and truthfully, seeking the good, helping others say, like, I love you, I want to help you in your soul. So, maybe as we're coming to the end of the liturgical year, where we're thinking about the end, we're thinking about the second coming, we're waiting, thinking about it, are we living with that kind of urgency, that agency, using our agency to, am I too concerned with, trying to be accepted by the world? Or simply to speak truth into the world? To be faithful to Christ first and foremost, and to use the opportunities that I have, that he gives me, to give his testimony. The testimony that he gives me, to speak plainly, to speak truthfully. And it may ruffle feathers. It may make somebody uncomfortable. I'll tell you what, when you look at the Gospels, Jesus did the same thing. He didn't make the Pharisees comfortable. And that's the thing when we're trying to rout out sin in life. It can be a little discomforting. But sometimes it takes somebody to point it out so that something can be changed. And are we willing, if we're willing to live out the fullness of our baptism, to do that, to allow Christ to work in and through us, to speak these things with charity, with love, to do these good works of mercy for another and for our world, and to follow like the saints that came before us, like Mother Teresa, who used the opportunities the Lord gave her, not to seek to be accepted or popular, but to share the good news of Christ, the gospel message, the truth that he came for us to share, so that all of us may have our hearts transformed and to live in conformity with him.